Welcome to the CQC video training series. This is a spot topic video on conditional pop-ups. In a previous video, we took a look at pop-up templates. It was just a very simple look at them. We created a simple pop-up that we could reuse that would show a message to the user and just get an okay response from them. And let's just take a look at what we did to remind ourselves here. So it was just a base template that had a button that invoked that show message pop-up that we created. And as mentioned, we can't interact with the underlying stuff until we dismiss it, as would be the case with something like a Windows dialog box, to which these are very similar. So now let's do something a little fancier, and let's create an interactive one that can get some more information from the user. In this case, we'll get a yes/no response from the user. So let's just copy this guy, and we'll start from the same place here and paste it in. And I'll call this one yes/no message. And let's just modify that, which won't be very much work here. We'll keep the same scheme where we pass in the message and we display it here. But now we just need two buttons basically instead of one. So I'm going to slide that over. I'm going to change the text to yes and copy it and paste it in. And this one we'll set to no. And let's get those basically aligned. Okay, and so now if you remember, we discussed in the previous video that in order to get out of the pop-up, we invoked an exit command, and that exit command takes a true or false value. And we didn't use it in the previous one, but this time we will. So for the yes button here, and I just double click that to bring up the action editor, I'm going to set that to true. So it's going to return a true result. And this one we'll leave as it is, returning false. So now what we can do is react to the actual return value, right? And so we can know whether the user selected yes or no. So let's save that. Go back to our base template here, and I'm going to copy this button, and I'll paste it in over here. And this one I'll call yes/no, so that we know which one invokes what. And just above it, in order to make sure that we are doing what we think we are going to do, I'm going to put in a static text widget. So I'm doing new textual static text, and we can just write some information out to that. In order to do that, we need to give it an ID. So I'll just call this output. And now what we can do is invoke that pop-up template and respond to the return value. So last time we did it this way. We won't be able to do that here. We need to get rid of that because we need to do it as an if statement or an if else. So let's do an if else so that we can either do one thing or another depending on what the user selects. So let's do interface viewer as before, invoke pop-up. Let's select our pop-up, which is the yes/no message, and let's tell it return a relative path. We discussed the benefits of that in the previous video. And for the parameters, again, as before, it's just a message, a single parameter message. In this case, though, it's going to be a question. So let's say, are you sure you want to warp the fraculator baffle plate? And basically that's it. Now we can do one thing or another here. So let's just say command output set text, and in this case that means that it means that they selected yes. So we'll set it to yes, and then let's just copy that and paste it in here, and then we'll say no. So now in theory, if we click this, we should get a yes or no here, depending on what the user selects. So let's save that and go back to the viewer. As always, disable caching when you're testing. Let's reload that. And now if we select this and we select yes, then we get yes. And if we select no, we get no. So that basically gives us an ability to respond to the user making a selection, a true or false selection. Of course, we could get fancier than that, and maybe we'll do that in a subsequent video where we actually also pass in the text that we want to put in the two buttons so that it could be yes, no, continue, cancel, or any other type of choice you would like the user to make. And it's always best to do that, make it as reusable as possible. But we won't get into that here. This one is long enough for such a very specific topic. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you in the next video.